I can tell you as a white guy, I've never asked my neighbor for brown sugar. I don't want to know my neighbors.
That's the most white thing you could do.
I know. I was going to say,
not want to know your neighbors.
If a black guy really wanted to impersonate a white guy interacting with his neighbors, it would be a white guy like
closing the doors
and all the shades and turning all the lights off.
Just call the cops on himself.
Yes.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were movies we love and growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roeper. And alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Hebert.
Freeze, mother bitches.
And Gene Mike Lowrey Lyons.
I'm from the Middle East. I kill before, I kill again.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out our race car VHS tape rewinder and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes at the end of the podcast. The three of us will provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and True Detective. That being said, Big D, we're still in commission season. I feel like there's going to be soon playoffs and some sort of tournament in the commissions because they keep pouring in.
Well, this is a first for us. This and next week, it's a birthday gift. We have 2 listeners who are twin brothers. They both listen to the podcast. They thought it'd be a great gift to commission a movie for the other. So tonight we have Adam commissioning one for Joshua, and next week is Joshua for Adam. I believe that's how it was. So this is 2 good movies in 2 weeks, and it's a special, twin brother birthday gift. And there's nothing better than the 1995 Will Smith and Martin Lawrence classic, Bad Boys.
Whenever we do get a commission, we are sent a letter, Gene, explaining why they've sent us money to do a commission. And I think we got one here for Bad Boys.
We do. This one comes from good twin Adam, who writes in, Dear Shat Crew, when you sit down to address some of life's truly existential questions, like what do you get the guy who has everything for his birthday, there's really only one answer, a Shat Crew review of a movie they absolutely loved growing up. For my twin brother Josh, this was 1995's Bad Boys. Growing up as twins, there was and is a fair amount of both contrarianism and competitiveness between us. This meant that for Bad Boys, a movie we got into in high school, he fancied himself the suave, well-groomed Mike Lowrey, and I became the comical, come-what-may Marcus Burnett, characteristics that ironically still define us to this day. From this, we'd have endless arguments over who was a better cop, who contributed more to the success of the mission, who would win in a fight, etc. For better or worse, Bad Boys became a staple of our adolescent development. So, to the Shat Crew, thanks for taking on this double commission birthday challenge. Now roast away. I make no bones about Bad Boys being a great movie, but it is a guilty pleasure and one that I'm happy to have shared time with growing up and reminiscing about with my brother. And to Josh, happy birthday. Enjoy the review and just be glad I didn't pick Steel Magnolias. Always the best, Adam.
Well, Bad Boys is a 1995 American buddy cop action comedy film directed by Michael Bay in his directorial debut. It was produced by the infamous pairing of Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer and starred Martin Lawrence and Will Smith as 2 Miami narcotics detectives, Marcus Burnett and Mike Lowrey. It spanned the Bad Boys franchise, which includes a sequel, Bad Boys 2, which came out in 2003, and an upcoming film, Bad Boys 3, Bad Boys for Life, scheduled for release in 2020. The film was a commercial success, grossing over $141 million worldwide, $65 million alone in North America, and $75 million overseas. However, critical reception was generally mixed, and film review aggregating website Rotten Tomatoes has reported an only 41% fresh rating. Before we dive into the details of this movie and in this commission, we always ask the question, where were you the first time you saw this movie? What are your memories, and have you seen it since then? We'll start with you, Big D.
I have absolutely no memory. I don't know. I was 22 at the time, so I was at the age that this probably would have appealed to me. I have no idea the first time I saw it. I must have seen it because you know all the iconic scenes and the chases and stuff, but it did not leave an impression on me. And after watching it again this week, I know exactly why it didn't leave an impression on me.
So you have no time frame. You don't know when the last time you saw Bad Boys was.
Oh, before like 2 days ago? Probably the year after it came out.
All right.
That's probably my best guess.
Gene, have you seen Bad Boys?
Yeah, so Bad Boys came out in 1995, and I completely missed it through high school. And I didn't see this movie until after college, actually. It was late at night at this house party, and I was super drunk. And, it was just one of those nights where you're just like, it's 3 a.m., you end up on the couch somewhere, and Bad Boys is on. And in watching it again, I remembered exactly 2 minutes of a shootout scene. And then I realized that was actually Bad Boys 2. So I didn't remember any of this movie. So the movie was brand new to me, which was, I think, a great way to watch it. Normally I like to compare to my youth, but this was a movie that I don't know that I would have appreciated at 15.
Yeah. Well, I am pretty sure I took my high school girlfriend, Melissa Zeitchek, the woman that broke my heart in college and made me into this emotionally walled individual today. I took her to the Pleasure Island Theaters, AMC, to see this movie, after which I'm pretty sure we went to Chili's, shared a queso dip, and then went back to my place for disappointing sex for her. But like you guys, I could have just seen Bad Boys 2 and not remember this, but I'm pretty sure I did see this in the theaters. I don't think I've ever seen it since because none of the scenes were familiar to me, except for what you saw in the trailer. Like Will Smith, you see him like rolling. That I remembered. And I think I remembered the Porsche driving, but that's it. Those are the only two scenes I remember this movie.
You could have bet me my life 2 days ago that the movie ends where they're playing chicken with an airplane, where the Porsche is driving straight at the airplane as they're trying to escape, and they cause the plane to crash and arrest them. I would have bet my life that's what was going on.
Yeah.
That's not what was going on.
If you haven't seen this movie, now's the time to stop, watch, and then listen, because it's going to be spoilers galore. Thank you so much. Big D, play the trailer.
It was the perfect crime. No one saw it coming. No one heard a thing.
This was our career bust, which is what, $100 million?
This had to have been an inside job.
Everything went according to plan. But there was one thing they didn't plan on.
Let's do this right. No gunshots, no dead bodies. Well, if I recall correctly, the last couple dead bad guys belong to you. Please, you ain't even trying to compare body counts. Should I keep going all day? I'm out.
Detectives Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett.
Don't be alarmed, we're Negroes.
Oh, man, it's too much bass in your voice. That scared white folk. You gotta sound like them.
We were wondering if we can borrow a cup of brown sugar.
On the Miami police force.
I'll be back.
You something wrong with you.
They don't follow the rules.
You ain't with the bad guys now. You with the cops.
They make them.
Sir.
Dope back and do it quietly.
You forgot your boarding pass.
Oh, shit.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boy. You drive almost slow enough to drive Miss Daisy.
Lifelong friends Marcus Burnett, played by Martin Lawrence, and Mike Lowrey, played by Will Smith, are Miami detectives investigating $100 million worth of seized mafia heroin, which was stolen from inside a secure police vault. Internal Affairs suspects that it was an inside job and threatens to shut down the entire department unless they recover the drugs within 5 days. Lowrey asks his ex-girlfriend, Max, played by Karen Alexander, to look for suspects who are newly rich. She gets herself and her best friend, Julie, played by Taya Leoni, hired as escorts by Eddie Dominguez, a former dirty cop. The party is soon interrupted by Dominguez's sadistic French kingpin boss, Fouché, and his hitmen. Dominguez and Max are left to die while Julie manages to escape.
So this movie, plot-wise, for anything significant, starts with a heist. But before the opening credits, there's this cold open, and I'm really glad they did it. I think Michael Bay did a great job in his directorial debut with this movie by opening with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith in this carjacking scene. I thought it was funny. And it was very relatable. Like, you get the lay of the land with these two characters. That fast food in the car thing is absolutely King B&I. And it establishes who these guys are, right? There's the one kind of sloppy guy, chaotic family life. There's the one smooth guy. He likes to have nice things. One guy is fairly affluent. One guy isn't. And also felt like this was pretty cutting edge for 96 as far as comedy goes, because this was like a blacker comedy than we were used to seeing. So you remember when you saw like things like Beverly Hills Cop, it was always a black character in a white environment, right? And I felt like this was a little bit different. It was a more like exciting to see what a black comedy would look like from the perspective of actual black actors.
Okay, so in my mind, we'll call it the imaginary bad boys, because in my head I kept being like, oh, I know this scene, I know this scene.
Yeah.
I thought they were on a stakeout at first.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that Porsche is obviously they're playing some role.
Right.
They're out there. No, that's just Mike Lowrey being a dick and just showing off the fact that his parents were wealthy to his hardworking, average coworkers.
Sure.
But this movie should have been called, instead of Bad Boys, Bad Cops, because I could not get it out of my head how inept they are. They are the worst screen detectives that we've ever seen. They're too busy fucking around with each other that they just don't even notice this car pull up behind them. The girl comes out. Any other movie, the cops would have been on it. And this continues throughout the entire movie. I don't want to jump ahead, but later on, there's a murder, and they just immediately break in the front door. Oops, door was open. Guess what? Everything that you've now found is inadmissible. Oh, there's a dead body. Let's start crawling around on the floor, moving evidence. Let's start picking up bloody paperwork. They're not wearing gloves. They're going through the guy's pockets. These are not good cops. They even pick up the murder weapon with their bare hands. So these are two shitty cops that I would expect somebody to get the drop on.
I mean, I agree with you, Big D. They're not great cops, but let's bear in mind that this is a comedy. And I think those parts were supposed to be funny, like how inept they were.
But Gene, you said this is a comedy. This isn't Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, there's supposed to be some funny comedic moments, but you have horrific deaths. You have a madam bludgeoned to death with a sledgehammer in her bed.
Yeah.
Okay. The tones are a little bit different. I can understand the little slapstick buddy, like Turner and Hooch. Hey, let's go solve the case, buddy.
But Turner and Hooch had heart, though. Turner and Hooch had heart.
Right, but I think the movie only tries to get serious at like 2 points, really. There's one, which is the heist at the beginning, which is terrible because it's just like, it's typical 90s bullshit. Like, Bay stretched a little bit too far. He's like, hey, let's have him wearing night vision goggles, but they've also got flashlights. They can't just knock the dude out or tie him up the guard. They have to like put a syringe in his neck.
Right.
And the other part that was supposed to be serious, I think, was Max's death, which was hilarious because they've got like this pillow that they're trying to muffle the gun with, but that's not how muffling works. And then right after they kill her with the pillow covering it, they shoot Dominguez, the bad cop, in the leg, which is like the loudest thing in the world, is to shoot a guy in the leg while he's screaming. I think that Michael Bay just took all the movies that he'd seen where people got shot and mushed them together.
Yeah. Let me just throw out an idea here, and maybe I'll save it to the end. But I think this movie could have been done fairly well. I think that there's a good enough skeleton for a good movie here, but it got distorted when Martin Lawrence and Will Smith signed on to be a buddy action and have a happy ending at the end.
Wait, so you think there's some good bones here about like two cops and there's a robbery, and then they have to protect a witness? Yeah, Raj, you're onto something. This sounds like a good movie.
No, but
okay, but listen, hold on, wait. We're talking about that Mike Lowrey and Marcus. They're not good cops. Dominguez used to be a cop. He's part of the heist. He steals one of the bricks of pure uncut heroin. He decides on his first day with some money, he's going to party with some hookers. He brings the brick of heroin in the original evidence locker tinfoil
Right.
with like the label on it.
Well, that's to show the audience that, oh, this is the stolen heroin.
Yeah, it's for you, Raj.
Yeah, we have to be color.
So you don't have a 15th question, which is, where did this heroin come from?
No, I get
exactly.
the movie. I get the movie. I don't get Michael Bay action scenes where it's like, let's shoot all these different angles at a fast cut, but you don't know who the people are shooting at. You don't know what's at stake for your heroes or the villains. Are there 3 bad guys or are there 40? Who knows? There's a guy on fire. Let's make sparks come out. There's another explosion. Hey, you like classic cars?
Well, listen, I'm going to get into this later about Bay's history. Keep in mind, this is his debut. This is his first movie, okay? He had only done music videos. And I'll talk about this later, but he was like a kid who you gave, let's just say you gave him a toolkit for his birthday. You gave him some tools, a hammer, some nails, a screwdriver. Holy shit, he's out there. He's whacking away. He's going to build something with it. He doesn't know if it's going to come out too nice. He's just going to use everything at his disposal. But these cops and this heist, it had me thinking. I always wonder whenever you see on TV or the newspaper, there's like that beautiful press shot of the tables and the neatly stacked drugs or piles of money and guns. And they're like, we found $110 million in cash and $200 million in coke. I'm like, that's a nice round number. I always wonder, and if there's any police officers or DEA agents or big time drug dealers, no local small time, big drug dealers, when the police come in these real raids and they say there was $1 million, how much was initially there when the first cops show up? Because if you guys came in a room, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say, you've arrested now the drug dealers, you've taken them away, and there's piles of uncounted money.
Sure.
Does some of that just kind of, it stuck to the bottom of my shoe?
No, I don't think so. I think it depends on the jurisdiction, right? Because
why?
I think there's laws in the book that say, doesn't it like
Fuck
go to the
books.
police department?
Listen, you're a dirty cop. I'm saying you're in a room full of money, Roger.
Okay, I get it.
Okay, let's just say, Roger, you're a cop. You go into a bust,
right?
And it's a vape oil marijuana bust, right? Woo. And they got thousands.
Why would it be a bust? It's legal now.
Well, it's because you fucking should be arrested for being such a douche.
It should be arrested. You just want to get me arrested. No.
How many of those little things end up in your pocket?
No, I wouldn't be a dirty cop. I would do the right thing.
I feel like the thing that we're not talking about is the fact that Americans are overwhelmingly absurdly honest. And I count myself among them. Like in any other country, I would say, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Americans, for some reason, like we forget that because I think we're insulated from the rest of the world or isolated and have our own closed little society. But like when you go elsewhere in the world or meet people from other parts of the world, they're so much faster and looser with like rules. But Americans now, I think it'd be very rare that a cop would just be like, yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of this for me. I think they get nasty in a lot of other ways, but stealing from the bust, I don't think so. I wouldn't.
Please write in and let me know.
So what would you do, Big D? You take it.
Oh, if it's obviously like it's not stacked up and bound and counted, fucking Emma's college has got to be paid for somehow. If I could think I could leave with maybe like 10, 15 grand, I'm not going to take 100 grand. But guess what? If you're a police officer, I knew it because, Roger, you were talking about one of our good friends.
Yeah.
When he was out on the street and he was out at night alone, his wife stayed up every night not knowing if he was going to come home.
Mm-hmm.
So 15 grand in the bank, if one day he doesn't come home, might go a little further. I could justify it. Is it wrong? Yes. But I'm not stealing the heroin, but 15 grand might vanish.
Well, at the police station, Julie insists on talking only to Lowrey, who is away, and knowing she never met Lowrey, Captain Conrad Howard, played by Joey Pants. I can't say his last name. How do I say his last name?
Pantoliano
of The Matrix, yeah. Forces Burnett to impersonate Lowrey to talk to her. At Julie's apartment, Burnett kills one of Fouché's hitmen who attacks him and Julie, and when they rendezvous with Lowrey, Burnett and Lowrey have to impersonate each other. Listen, they keep saying Lowrey throughout this entire movie, and they have to keep up this appearance of Marcus being Lowrey and Lowrey being Marcus in Julie's presence.
So I'm admittedly a Michael Bay fan. I like The Rock. I like Armageddon, but I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know the origin of Michael Bay's career as a mainstream director. Did you guys know he started in music videos, right? Lionel Richie, Do It to Me. The Divinals, I Touch Myself. Donny Osmond, Soldier of Love. Vanilla Ice, I Love You. Meatloaf's iconic, I Do Anything for Love. He was the one who shot the very first Got Milk ad. He also shot Playboy's Carrie Candle, September 1990 video centerfold, a big VHS in my house. He also shot Wingers Can't Get Enough. So it is amazing that all of these videos led Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson to say, this is a great director. We got to give him a chance. So Michael Bay coming into this movie, all he's done is music videos where you take a couple lyrics out of a song and you shoot some kind of scene like where Meatloaf is on a motorcycle, there's bats flying around, it's ridiculous. And that's what his movies are. They're just Jolt Cola, cocaine-induced fever dreams that don't have too much of a coherent plot behind them.
Look, the point of this movie isn't to weave some detailed plot that's going to satisfy your ever-inquisitive mind, Raj. Like, this movie makes no sense. It's supposed to be funny. You know how we talk all the time about movies where we're like, this whole thing could have been solved if somebody had a cell phone, right? This movie could have been solved really quickly. All Burnett had to do is show up with a squad of cops at Téa Leoni's house, set up shop at Julie's apartment, and then just wait until Lowrey could be reached, right? Like, yeah, Lowrey got attacked. He was bonked, whatever, but you just wait for him. He's eventually going to get there. Instead, the captain orders him to impersonate another police officer for several days. Again, getting back to what Big D is saying, highly unethical. So my brain is like, no, this makes no sense. But the second that Martin Lawrence starts impersonating Will Smith on the phone and you know that gag is coming, my mind's like, yes, actually, I like this a lot. And what was really great about it is notice that Will Smith, when he's funny in any other movie, in any other role, he's deciding to be funny, right? Like, he's the one who gets to decide when it's a joke. This is one of the rare movies where he's the butt of the joke and doesn't get to decide when. Like, Martin gets to be the star. He's the comedic star.
Yeah, but again, so why did Lowrey go away?
So he went over to the house to check on the madam, and he got attacked there and knocked through a window. So he was like knocked the fuck out.
So he's knocked out. Okay.
Yeah. So Gene, I'm coming to your side here, and my review is changing as we go. I was having a problem with the comedy side. I think I should have a problem with the violent side, because the comedy is what they were going for, but Bay fucked it up by putting too much real dark violence. When you bludgeon a woman with a sledgehammer, okay, it's a bit dark. To then juxtapose that to a scene of your Caucasian police captain shooting bricks in like a YMCA, the scenes don't match. I would have toned down the violence, and then maybe I really would have loved this movie.
The whole life-wife switch is the worst part of the plot. I felt this unnecessary. I feel it's forced. Why is Téa Leoni just sitting there? Why didn't either of them just say, hey, like, I don't see what the big deal is if you know who Will Smith's character is, unless Téa Leoni has seen Will Smith's character be a bad guy in the past, and like she's leery of him. I don't know, where it becomes a whole like Téa Leoni ends up uncovering that, you know, this whole character that we fell in love with in the first two acts of the movie is actually the big bad guy. I felt like that would have been a twist.
But I kept asking myself, does Marcus really hate his family? He rescues Julie as they're about to get killed and ambushed. He drives away in the family car and says, oh, I bet they got the license plate. Does he drive home to get his wife and kids out of the house? Does he drive to the police station and say, get my family into protective custody? No. He drives back to Mike Lowrey's apartment and lays in the bed making jokes. Does he want his family to get killed?
So I want to take this a step further. We keep calling this movie a comedy. This movie is a farce. And the definition of a farce is a comic, dramatic work that uses buffoonery and horseplay, and typically including crude characterization and ludicrously improbable situations. That is the definition of this movie. They are supposed to make the wrong decision at every turn. That's what makes it funny. You're like, no, go home. Just tell her who the fuck you are. Get some backup. They have to make the wrong decisions to make it funny.
I love how you're exploring Bad Boys as a 12th grade senior literary project exploration into the brilliant and genius mind of Michael Bay. I just want to say a comedic line in this movie is quote for quote, I hate it when bitches be letting their looks slide. And then let's do a really, really white voice and ask for brown sugar. I can tell you as a white guy, I've never asked my neighbor for brown sugar. I don't want to know my neighbors.
That's the most white thing you could do.
I know. I was going to say,
not want to know your
if
neighbors.
if a black guy really wanted to impersonate a white guy interacting with his neighbors, it would be a white guy like
closing the doors,
closing the doors and all the shades and turning all the lights off.
Just call the cops on himself.
Yes.
Looking through the mugshots, Julie identifies one of the hitmen, Noah. The trio then go to Club Hell, one of Noah's known hangouts. After being spotted, Burnett knocks out hitman Casper. Julie then tries to confront Fouché, but Burnett intercepts her. In the ensuing car chase, Lowrey eliminates Noah as one of the three men to manage to get away, but they are caught on camera by a news helicopter and later seen by Burnett's family.
I just want to give a shout out to 90s movies for always surprising us with these club scenes. Like there has to be one in every 90s movie.
Has to be one.
And because the 90s were a great time for music, you had the industrial scene, you had the grunge scene, you had the alternative music scene like burgeoning. You just have these oddly out of place songs. And so Club Hell in Miami is playing KMFDM's Juke Joint Jezebel, which is like one of my favorite songs from the 90s on the sound system. I love that 90s movies often had those random industrial bands. And then they take it a step further because Club Hell looks shockingly like Stacy's on Melrose in Phoenix. They have like these spooky bathrooms and like just shit hanging off the ceiling. So maybe this speaks to Michael Bay's experience as a music video director, but he nailed this scene. Club Hell was pretty cool, complete with a window where they could amazingly see every person who walks in the door.
I was going to say, at Club Hell, were there ever moments where some guy would come in, you'd see him just off the side of the mirror, and then you'd have to bash his head up against a urinal?
Dude, that urinal scene. Okay, did you guys see American History X?
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you remember that curb stomp scene?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can see the lighting is coming through the mouth and the teeth are set right against the cement, the curb. And ever since I saw American History X and I saw that curb stomp, I cannot drive down a neighborhood street without thinking of how the sharp edge of a tooth would just crumble against concrete. Now, after seeing Bad Boys, every time I see a piss-filled urinal, I'm just going to think of getting my head smashed in. You could feel that. Like, it looked horrible.
But again, you're calling this a farce. This is a comedy.
Yeah.
Mixed with this horror. Big Mama's House didn't have somebody getting curbed. Okay, it's a very different movie.
Do you guys watch any Bollywood flicks ever? You ever watch, like, Indian cinema?
I watched Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay, with some more modern stuff, or like old timey movies, like U.S. movies from like the 40s and 50s, right? You ever watch those?
Not particularly.
If you watch them, they would go like, okay, we need to have some elements of comedy, some elements of like suspense, some violence, maybe some singing and dancing. And if you watch Bollywood, you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And the reason why is there is a school of directing where you're trying to mush everything in the movie so there's, quote, something for everyone. I think that's what they're doing here. I think that's what Michael Bay was doing. And for me, if I'm going to see that big summer blockbuster, I don't mind that so much. I kind of want to see a little bit of comedy, a lot of violence, maybe some sexuality, which I think this movie decidedly had not enough of, and just make it a whole buffet for the senses.
Michael Bay makes movies in the same way that there's an action setting in iMovies. Like that's just his thing. It's like, you know what I mean?
Like a template. It's a template.
Yeah.
It says like insert action shot one.
Oh yeah.
If Michael Bay just went out there and took a lot of shots and then put it into iMovie and then hit Michael Bay, that's the kind of movie that would come out. It would just be a mishmash of all these shitty different things because it's got to have something for everyone. It's like, it's the start of like the corporate, homogenized action film that we see today in American cinema, where we're amazed when we see a movie that lets a scene breathe, that allows an actor to really go through a range of emotions, that allows a fight choreographer to actually plan out a dance, a choreography of moves similar to, you could have the aspects of the Bollywood movie where there's dancing, but it be in the style of fighting where it's exciting and an action and it's tense. Like we're, as Americans, amazed when a movie is allowed to do that. because we've been fed this schlock of what we think is action movie. There's nothing that more than a setting in iMovie. It's just fast jump cuts and lens flare.
We haven't been fed anything. We're slopping this shit up like it's fucking Ponderosa. We're sitting up at the table and getting double-handed spoons and just shoving it in our face. He was a video director, so you have to understand the things he knows.
I know.
Are hundreds of quick cuts.
MTV.
Right?
I blame MTV for this.
And kids, MTV used to show videos, and that's why Roger's saying that. Kids, they don't know that. But there's actually a term in the industry now called, instead of mayhem, it's bayham. And it describes what Michael Bay does. He does 1,000 quick cuts, and then he'll have your hero, your protagonist, standing at a distance. He uses telescopic lenses to show depth. He uses a parallax effect, and then he does a rotoscope around the person as the person turns the opposite direction, and they're usually looking up. It's his set playlist. It's what he goes to all the time. But it's our fault. We watch it, we eat it up, and this was his first time stretching his legs. He said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And for all it is, you know what, it's a beautiful looking movie. Yes, the tone's all over the place.
No.
You got 1 second where, you know, it's this nightclub and you're having Will Smith hitting on the bartender as Marcus is in the bathroom getting beaten to death almost. And at that time, I kept finding myself thinking, didn't Mike Lowrey get his good friend Max killed? He told her, hey, can you go find somebody who's new money? He got his good friend killed. He then swore to find the killer. He doesn't seem to feel bad at all. And he's just sitting at the bar flirting. You got the killers potentially in the bar.
Because he's a bad boy.
At least pretend to care. At least pretend like you want to take the investigation seriously.
No, he doesn't, because he should be behind all of this. He should have been. That's the reason why he's off doing all these things. Also, what is Taya Leone's character going to do? What is she going to shoot him? How far away is it? That's like a good 200 yards. Gene, you're an expert in small arm pistols. You go out to the desert, you shoot. How far of a distance are your targets out in the desert?
I mean, shooting anything that's higher than you are is inherently difficult. And a handgun through a window, that's a tough shot. But she's also not a trained marksman and therefore does not know that.
Yeah.
So why is she pulling it out right then?
You know why, Roger?
At that distance, I can't even be sure that I'm looking. Like, if Big D, if you were that far away from me, we've known each other now for almost 20 years. If you were that far away from me, with my eyesight, I couldn't tell you if that was either you or like a statue of Big Boy from the Big Boy restaurants. I couldn't tell.
I mean, plus, how could he see through the vape cloud? It would be like
exactly. But Roger,
well, I'm at the club, guys. I'm at the club. I got to be vaping.
I would hope you were so filled with rage, you know, that it would blind you to the effect. At least fucking Julie cares about Max. Julie says, you know what?
It's just my roommate. I've had lots of roommates, right? But I've had roommates that I wouldn't care if they got killed. I'd be like, well, this sucks. I got to pay all the rent, you know?
Well, it's obvious that you wouldn't, but that's why Julie would be a better roommate and friend to me. Because Julie doesn't care if she's going to get herself killed. She wants revenge. She sees that Mike's off on the side trying to get laid and not saving her. And this leads me to think that Julie is the smartest character in the movie. She obviously figures out early on that Mike and Marcus are playing, right? There's that scene where she's laying in bed. She's already unraveled the whole mystery. And she starts laying out the story like, oh, I wonder what, you know, Marcus is home doing with his wife right now. Ooh, such a smooth guy. She's fucking with him. And this is the one time, Gene, in the whole movie that I openly laughed out loud when they're looking at the scrapbook at home. And Martin Lawrence's character, Marcus, calls his wife. And right as the wife is like, oh, come on, don't take it out, Mike. Put it back in. Put it back in. He'll kill us for me showing you. That's pretty damn funny. She figured it out early on. She's the one cracking the case. She should be one of the fucking police because she's the only one who's actually doing something about it.
Wait a minute. So you think Julie knew that when she's coming on to Marcus in the bed, you think that, okay.
Yeah, because she's
she
smiling.
Knows.
Yeah, she's playing him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But the movie then cuts away to Will Smith to do that dumb joke where it's like, you don't know what they're doing. It's just an open window. And then, they're just looking at photo albums because Mike's a good guy.
Hey, he's trying to live the other life. You know, he's that playboy. How many police action, dramas delve into the definition of masculinity? You know, he's the playboy trying to be domesticated. He's trying to live someone else's shoes.
I grew up thinking that if I drove fast cars and lived a swanky lifestyle, that I could live a swinging bachelor life. But I'm here to tell you guys, swinging bachelor life is just being able to watch any Netflix show that you want at any given time without any repercussion. Like that's a dangerous proposition. That's bachelorhood.
In Roger's rework of this movie, not only is Mike Lowrey the bad guy drug dealer, he's also fucking Marcus's wife.
Exactly. In my version, he's not a bad boy in that sense. He's still loyal to his friend, but he's still living this other life. He would never like hit on his wife. Although that could be a good twist where like, you know, he makes a move on her.
Yeah, it's bad boys, not awful boys.
Well, Lowrey and Burnett meet their old informant, Jojo, played by Michael Imperioli, who many of you will recognize from The Sopranos, and learn about the location of the chemist who was cutting into the stolen drugs. The three return to Lowry's apartment, where Burnett's wife confronts them and accidentally reveals to Julie that they have been impersonating each other. Also, to complicate matters, Fouché's gang shows up and kidnaps Julie.
So, gentlemen, I came here tonight to say one thing about this movie, and that is Martin Lawrence is fucking hilarious.
No, you're crazy.
The scene where Burnett's wife storms in the apartment and Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are half dressed and Tia Leoni is like in that sexy little outfit, which, by the way, she had a lot of outfits for running out of her apartment and not packing any bags. That is, I can only assume that she found those like in Lowry's closet from other women, maybe. But that is prime Martin Lawrence. Like kids today watch a lot of shows from the 90s, like Friends. Like my niece is in college right now, and I didn't know this, but Friends is huge. I don't know why. But most teens and 20-somethings don't know about a Fox comedy called Martin, and it was starring Martin Lawrence. It's fucking hilarious. It still holds up. And what made it special is it had like 20 recurring characters that were just bizarre and unique, and you haven't seen anything like them on TV since. And Martin also played about 10 characters himself. One of the characters was this hood rat, Shanae, and I'm using the term hood rat like to explain what she is. I'm not condoning the portrayal of a hood rat. He also played Jerome the Pimp. He played this like karate master called Dragonfly Jones that would get his ass kicked every time he made an appearance on the show. He also played this weird character called Elroy Preston, who was the godfather of black surf music. But if you never watched the show Martin and don't intend to, just Google Martin Lawrence King Beef. He played this character called King Beef. Do you guys remember King Beef? Did you guys ever see King Beef on Martin?
I watched Martin with my parents, but I it's not like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like where I know every episode.
Right.
I don't remember King Beef.
King Beef was this. It was Martin in this giant bodysuit, like a muscular bodysuit. And he would always he'd have to break out and dance and stuff, but he was like a B-movie actor. And so they would Martin would watch movies starring King Beef, and he would always have to break out and dance. He was always being chased around by like half-naked women. And it's just...
Wait a minute. I do remember,
do you remember this?
Because Martin co-starred, or like he guest starred on In Living Color, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't this around In Living Color? So it was like In Living Color followed by Martin. And Shanae was a character on In Living Color that then showed up in Martin.
And also actors from In Living Color would be on Martin.
And that's how Jamie Foxx got his start
Yes.
with the Jamie Foxx shows, because of Martin. Okay, that's right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't dream that.
So, Gene, I was never a fan of Martin, and I don't know why I never got into it. In Living Color, I did like. The only thing I remember about Martin was some of the issues he ran into. And you describing the characters, I think comedians, truly the brilliant ones, are often troubled. You look at Robin Williams. A lot of the ones who come up with these characters and consume or take over another person's body, internally they're having issues. Like Martin Lawrence, I always thought he was kind of a joke until now I'm learning more about him, that I always remembered that he had some mental breakdown, that right around this time, after this movie came out, he was arrested because he had some kind of a violent attack and actually was hospitalized at Cedars-Sinai. Then in May the following year, when he started becoming more erratic, he pulled out a gun and went into an intersection in Ventura Boulevard in Los Angeles and started screaming, "They're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me." He was hospitalized. It became this big, this was pre-Twitter and Facebook, so they kind of kept it quiet, but he tried to claim, I was dehydrated. It was exhaustion. The next year, he got arrested for punching a guy in a Hollywood nightclub. Around this same time, he tried to board a plane carrying a loaded 9mm Beretta. And then a couple years later, he slipped into a coma and collapsed from heat exhaustion when he decided to go jogging in 100-degree temperatures when he was preparing for Big Mama's house, which is funny. He was trying to lose some weight, but he was wearing that plastic suit. He went to the hospital, nearly died. His body temperature was like 107. He had to be on a ventilator. So, it's a give and take. Some of this genius comes with a burden.
Yeah, the thing to remember when you're watching a movie is try to put yourself in the situation where you're actually on set, right? And they get the cameras rolling and Martin is doing what he's doing on screen. Not everybody can do that. Bringing that kind of energy, that kind of spastic behavior, that kind of timing. And I really felt that, both of these guys, Will Smith and Martin, played off each other. But if you ask anybody who's in Bad Boys, they always think of Will Smith as the big actor, right? And Martin's just kind of there. Mm-hmm. No. In 1995, it was very much the other way around. Martin is the big name here, and Will Smith is kind of the also ran, right? I think that dynamic changed for Bad Boys 2, which I think is actually the better of the two movies. But, in this one, Martin was a star, and I thought, he did an all right job. It wasn't always 100% great, but for the most part, good.
I mean, Will Smith had done movies, right?
Yeah, and he also, I think, Fresh Prince was like
Fresh Prince was done at this point.
Yeah, it ended. Well, I think it ended in 96.
Yeah, this was done in 95. Then Independence Day was the following year. So that's when he became big. Then he did Men in Black.
Wait a minute.
Enemy of the State.
Oh, this was before Independence Day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
The year before.
That's crazy. I thought Independence Day came out before this did. And I didn't know that Fresh Prince went until 96. So yeah, I think you're right. People didn't know if maybe Will Smith could be an action star.
But I think we can track his stardom to this movie and to a scene in particular. For some reason, we get now the ambush at the hotel. Fouché, right. Casper, Ferguson, they open fire. They can only manage to hit one employee. Everyone else survives, right? But they explode every glass flower vase that's in this lobby. There's like 30 of them. They decide to kidnap Julie, which I don't know why you'd kidnap her. She was only a witness to Max's murder. Put a bullet in her head and kill her there. But you get one killer star-making scene of like 30 minutes of a shirt-opened Will Smith, slow motion. I mean, he's glistening. He's running across the top of cars. There's no reason for him to be running like that in the street. But that was a star-making scene. I think that made him right there alone.
I watched this movie with my friends Sarah and Stephanie, and everyone exclaimed the fact they're like, I don't remember him running shirtless for this long. It's like a half hour of him running shirtless.
It is.
But I can explain the Julie kidnapping thing. Because I said the same thing. I'm like, why the fuck wouldn't they just shoot her? She's literally in the middle of the crossfire, the easiest person to hit. It's because I think Fouché knew that the plan had been exposed, and by kidnapping her, they have her as a hostage. So the idea is you let this deal go down or we kill the girl is essentially what he's saying to the cops. And he does say that in the movie. And I think that was the point, was that she was supposed to be the leverage. But again, they don't give a fuck. They're like, kill her.
But Gene, I understand you wanted a hostage to make sure the deal goes down. Why not just take one of the members of that paralyzed basketball team in wheelchairs that somehow roll out? What were they doing there exactly?
That's a Bayism. He's going to put a obstacle that is going to get in the way of the protagonist or the villain. It just happens to be like he pulls from a Rolodex. It's like a Mad Libs of Bayisms, and he's like rolling disabled people.
What were they doing there? I'm sorry, Big D. Did the people in wheelchairs disrupt your viewing experience?
No. Gene,
are they not allowed to be on the sidewalk?
He doesn't like those people.
There was a full team of players doing like a 3-man weave down the sidewalk, dribbling and playing. They weren't out on a court playing.
They got to get their practice in.
They were on the sidewalk. What were they doing?
You've never seen a young kid on his way to the park dribbling a basketball?
Not 12 of them.
Disabled people are just like us.
Yeah, I'm sorry they weren't walking to practice.
Oh, you're such a dick. What do you expect me to say? I want them out of sight. Oh, keep them away from me. Keep them out of my sight.
Keep those wheelies out of my neighborhood. Damn wheelies taking over the sidewalk. I can't walk anywhere with all these wheels.
Oh, these kids.
I think this is officially the podcast where we all just go into actual retirement. Like we're just cranky old white people now. Let's just go. Come on, everybody, let's go.
Yeah. But after that, Lowrey and Burnett's department is shut down by internal affairs despite being reassigned. Howard delays the order, giving Lowrey and Burnett more time to solve the case. They access Dominguez's private police database file and learn that the police secretary, Francine, is Dominguez's former girlfriend.
Okay, so the actress who plays Francine is Anna Levine. And the second I saw her on screen, I'm like, she's the fucking mole. Because that secretary, the actress who plays her, Anna Levine, she cannot be allowed to play an unbroken character. So think about the characters that she's played, like famously in film, right? She was the drug addict mom in The Crow. She was the barfly that Christian Slater's talking to at the beginning of True Romance that doesn't want to go to the Kung Fu movie. And most famously, I think she's the disfigured sex worker, Delilah, that starts all the events in motion in Unforgiven, starring Clint Eastwood. Fantastic movie, by the way. I would love to do it. But if you see this woman in a movie, her life is fucked up and something bad is going to happen about her. You see her and she was kind of slinking around the office the whole time. I'm like, it's her. It's fucking her. Do not trust her. And I was fucking right.
She's typecast.
So I didn't know any of those roles you just said she was in. I only felt like she was Pee Wee Herman when Pee Wee Herman was in the movie version of Pee Wee. He's like, paging Mr. Herman. When they're like, hey, Francine, can you get into the file? And she's like, I tried it 3 times. It didn't work. I'm like, that fucking she's involved. Check her out.
She's awful in everything she's in.
Awful.
Burnett, Lowrey, and 2 other Miami detectives head to the airport, rescue Julie, and defeat Fouché's remaining hitmen in a shootout. They chase Fouché and ram his vehicle into a concrete barrier. Lowrey then shoots Fouché's left leg and captures them at gunpoint. Fouché suddenly draws his pistol, but Lowrey shoots him first as other cops arrive, and exhausted, Burnett leaves Julie with Lowrey and heads home, eager to be reunited with his wife.
Okay, I've said a lot of good things about this movie. I'm going to agree with you guys on one point about Michael Bay, and that's his sets don't make sense ever. This hangar that the final scene is in is fucking ridiculous. What the fuck is going on here? There's like a sports car, and then they're like, let's get some ether tanks, let's get some propane in here. But my favorite part is the doors. They keep sliding these hangar doors so people can get in and out. There are no walls or windows on the fucking thing. Why are there doors? It's like Michael Bay was just like, hey, everybody, build me an explosion room. Go.
This is every bad trope that's involved in a Michael Bay film. It's executed poorly because as an audience member, I don't know how many men are there. I don't know who's on fire. How did he get there? Why is he on fire? Why can't they shoot straight? This is terrible.
No, but a bigger problem is the construct of the entire rationale of why they're there. This has to be the only time in history that someone is trying to smuggle $100 million in heroin out of the U.S. You're trying to smuggle drugs into the U.S. You have this Pablo Escobar looking dude. What's he smuggling heroin back to Colombia? That doesn't fucking make any sense.
Is that Fouché?
No, it's Fouché.
No, the guy that gets shot.
Fouché is selling it to like the white suited Pablo Escobar. This is my car. I love this car. Why is he smuggling heroin out of the U.S.? You got it here. It doesn't make sense. And yeah, Raj, yes, we have slow motion guys on fire. It seems like when we get there, there's maybe 20 henchmen, but maybe 100 henchmen die. Poor old fat Ferguson, Fouché's main enforcer, he gets the worst on-screen death of them all. He gets gut shot by Mike with a shotgun. He then falls backwards into the electrical breakers and then is set on fire from like the ether. And he's running around on fire with the oxygen feeding the flames. And nobody puts him out of his misery. They just let the dude keep running around like a marshmallow on fire.
If you want an absolute break with logic, think about what Julie does. Julie is in the car. She gets her handcuffs off. She's got a running car. And what does she do? She drives it into a pile of explosives as opposed to driving the fuck out of there. What the fuck, Julie? And why are they chasing Fouché, that part also doesn't make sense. You know that they've called the entire Miami Police Department. They're showing up. They got helicopters. They got cars. Fouché is in a vintage sports car with no seatbelts. Where is he going that a helicopter can't follow him? And also the Porsche is faster. Why not just follow him? Instead, they get in this weird game of chicken with a cement wall. I'm completely pissed at this point.
Well, at this point, I didn't even know who the main villain was until the end because I didn't care. I didn't care. There's no emotional. Usually in a film like this, where you have two, buddy cops, they're trying to fight a main villain, and if the main villain hasn't shown up in the second act, it's usually one of your main protagonists. But like Fouché, he has as much screen time as the big fat guy Ferguson. I was more invested in from an emotional perspective. He's yelling at that like 17-year-old young kid with the mustache or whatnot about, did you get his license plate? Yeah, I got his license plate. Well, fuck you. That's not what we do. I was more connected with the two of them and their relationship than Fouché and Pablo Escobar, who's apparently we've got so much drugs in our country now we're exporting.
We got just too much. We're going to sit down. But Gene, I'll explain to you why they're playing this game of chicken and why they care. They don't know that the cavalry is coming. When they leave, their captain tells them, you guys are it. He then calls in a favor to, we assume, is the head of, the internal investigation. So they don't know the cavalry is coming, but that doesn't stop them from being the fucking shittiest detectives again on the fucking planet. They win the game of chicken. Somehow Fouché survives crashing that Cobra into the concrete backstop for the jet wash. Right. Mm-hmm. He's got no seatbelt. He survives. He falls out of the car. You have Julie. You have Marcus and Mike slow motion walking down to get him. They draw their guns on him. He's on the ground. Any rookie cop, you secure the suspect. You read them their rights. Instead, these two idiots put their guns away, turn their back on him, start to joke. And of course, Fouché pulls out that 4-barreled little pistol. And of course, Mike's got to turn around and kill him. Dude, frisk the guy. You guys are fucking idiots. I'm surprised Julie didn't get shot. And then this movie would have just ended on a very dark tone.
I literally said as that scene ended, and then in 1996, they started patting suspects down after the arrest. Like, what the fuck?
Could you imagine a better scene where they're at the airport? Marcus discovers that it's Mike Lowrey the entire time.
Oh my God.
And Mike is escaping in his Porsche. Marcus, who's been set up throughout the entire movie as a guy who drives slow, drives like a grandfather, has to go and chase down Mike Lowrey. And they get into this friendship chicken fight at the end where they have to make it like Marcus makes a decision to kill his best friend who's been behind this entire bust and cost him his job, his income for his family. And then like he would have just died. He just would have died in the car. Maybe they have one last final scene together talking about their friendship before Mike passes away, and like maybe that's where Mike says to Marcus, you have a beautiful family. I love spending time with them. Take care of them. You're all that I have. Like you were the best friend I've ever had. And then that ends. And then you're like, wow, Mike was a bad boy, but he wasn't a bad guy. And then there would have been no sequels and we all would have been happy.
No,
would you
funniest movie ever.
Would you rather have that or, Bad Boys playing again? Twice they play the song Bad Boys, which was
I don't think you can have that enough.
Made famous by cops. Oh, it's terrible.
But I mean, the ending could have been a lot worse. Marcus handcuffs them together to get it out of the way. And I'm like, how fucking stupid are you guys? There's 30 cops around. Somebody's got to have a key. And at least they played that out. They started asking the cops for keys and nobody had it. I mean, for that, just thankfully it was over. But this was a rough ride.
I'll tell you this. Did you guys ever see what was it? The Good Cops? The Good Cops? Is that the one with Will
Good
Smith?
Guys?
The Good Guys.
The Good Cops.
Yeah. Is it the Good Guys, right? With Will Smith and Mark Wahlberg? That's the movie we're both talking
about. Will
Ferrell. That's the Good Guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie because you discover that Will Ferrell's character is Gator, and it comes out of fucking left field. because he's so fucking nice, right? And Mark Wahlberg is like this hard-nosed blue collar. I don't know. They do Bad Boys better than Bad Boys did.
And there's boobs.
That's right. Gator ain't playing. All right. Well, now's the time of the podcast where we break out our Shat meters and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast, 0 wipes is a great movie. 5 wipes is a bad movie. We'll start with you, Dick. How many wipes do you give Bad Boys?
So I feel bad for this, okay? Because before we started recording, I was angry. I really did not like the movie. I thought I was taking it more as an action film and the comedy didn't work. I got to look at it a little bit different, but I got to stick with my score. I'm going to give it a 4 wipe, okay? It starts off as a standard cop movie. It sounds good. We got some stolen heroin. You got to protect a witness. But then it quickly turns into that dumb Marcus pretending to be Mike, Mike pretending to be Marcus. Everybody knows what's going on, including Julie. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it was a great time capsule for a strange bygone era where Martin Lawrence was actually a bigger star than Will Smith. But my big problem was that the tone was completely wrong. They were incompetent cops. If you're going to have it be a Big Mama's house, where you have an undercover cop pretending to be somebody else to catch a fugitive, that's funny, but there wasn't a serial killer like slitting and raping women in Big Mama's neighborhood. That wasn't the crime they were trying to, catch them for. So I think because of that, instead of me originally thinking that the comedy took away from the action, I would have rather seen this turn into something like a Blue Streak, a Big Mama's House, something that was a little more comedy and wasn't so real world dark and gritty, like Roger likes to say. But still, in the end, it's a mess for Michael Bay's gritty first movie. It was a 2-hour music video. I think 4 wipes is generous, but I'm eager to see part 2 because I don't remember that at all. And I hope it's better than this.
And when it comes to like these procedural movies, right, where it's a buddy cop, like the reason that we get so upset over a cop would never do this is because it suspends the disbelief. If we as the audience are supposed to believe that these are good cops, like at least do your jobs well. And they at no point do their jobs well. So it's like, well, then are they bad boys? Are they, I don't know. So for me, I agree with you, Big D. I had the same problem with this movie. It's 4.5 wipes for me. Let me just get that score out of the way. 4.5. It's one of the times I'm glad that we do this podcast because I thought I remembered this movie being good, like being like an undercover hit. But maybe that was Bad Boys 2.
Bad Boys 2 is much better.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, I guess all I can say is they're making a Bad Boys 3, Bad Boys for life, because that's the state of cinema today, and I couldn't care less. But 4.5 wipes. Yeah, this movie is not good. Not good at all. I was bored. Through a Michael Bay film, I was bored.
So I want to start with we kept saying the good guys for that movie. It just dawned on me that it's the other guys.
The other guys, yeah.
And I didn't realize that until you started talking about them being bad cops. And I was like, oh yeah, it's not good. It's bad. Anyway. So it's 4 wipes from Dick, 4.5 wipes from Raj. Listen, guys, Michael Bay has made some serious, unforgivable turds of movies. Transformers, all of them. Yeah. Armageddon.
No.
I don't know. Are you guys familiar with Pain and Gain?
Oh, yeah.
Another
Pain
Miami
and Gain.
movie.
It's about a trio of bodybuilders. Okay. But this movie works not because of Michael Bay, but because he brought the explosions and left everything else up to Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. And they brought the charm in huge ways. There's an ineffable thing that we can't capture in just without somebody seeing the movie. We can't capture verbally. And these two guys, I thought, had great chemistry. Logic aside, plot aside, like they're just funny together. I was laughing from start to finish. To the point where I could overlook the police brutality and I could overlook the giant plot holes and I could overlook some of the lesser performances like Fouché, who was terrible. I hadn't had this much fun watching a movie in a long time, guys. Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. So for me, I got to say that this is not the best movie I've ever seen. It's not even as good as Bad Boys 2, but I had fun. It zipped along very quickly. And I have to go with 1.5 wipes.
So you've been out now on your cleanse now for what, 70 days, 60 days?
Yeah, something like that, about 70 days.
All right, so about 70 days. Your life is going great. You're no longer allowed to critique movies.
He's in a good
movie
yeah,
critique.
but
critiquing
but I
movies.
I can't drink. I'm not getting laid.
Right. You're a happy guy. All this testosterone is built up in you. And you're like, I'm working out. I'm seeing results. I'm feeling great about myself. I have good, well-being.
Hey, he's comfortable.
Come back to the dark side. Yeah, come back to the dark side.
He's living his best Gene life.
I got felt up by Veda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to the charity thing on Saturday?
Yeah, Big D, super, super satisfying moment as far as the cleanse goes. Is I'm at the bar getting my fizzy water, getting my seltzer, and one of my friends who's drunk, a dude, Veda, starts just feeling me up. He just keeps running his hand up and down my chest and stomach for like 2 minutes straight. He's like, "You look good, man.
Oh,
you look really good."
Okay,
it's the best kind of endorsement you can get. But anyway, 1.5 wipes.
All right, so 1.5, 4.5, and 4. If we add that up, divide by 3, that gives us our overall combined Shat score, which is what, Gene?
Raj, that is an average Shat score below average at 3.3 repeating.
And Big D, if we were to take that Shat score and combine it and put it up into our shelves of Shat, where does that put it?
God, I don't feel comfortable even saying this. Okay, so this is movie 118. This is now tied at 84 with The Lost Boys, Caddyshack, and Videodrome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Caddyshack is way better than this.
Lost Boys is way better than this, but I think I gave Lost Boys a very good score.
Lost Boys was a 4 for Roger, 3 for me, 3 for Eugene. Caddyshack was a 3.5 for Roger, 3.5 for me, 3 for you.
I gave Caddyshack 3.5 wipes.
Yeah, remember, it wasn't that good. Then Videodrome was a 4 for Roger, 4.5 for me, 1.5 for Eugene.
Yeah, this is as good as Videodrome.
I mean, I guess the system works. Yeah. All right. Videodrome.
I mean, at least thankfully, Blade Runner is better than this movie, or we would have gotten some hate mail.
Oh, you guys have perverted the story of the original ranking of Blade Runner. Yeah, I would much rather. I don't know what I'd watch. Anyway, now we're gonna do our shout outs. Gene, what's a shout out?
Raj, a shout out is our way of saying thank you for coming to shatthemovies.com, checking out the website, and putting your name into the shout out box. If you go to the website, shatthemovies.com, put your name into the box, we will read it on the podcast. And we are actually getting down. We had hundreds to read through, but we are getting down to the point where if you put your name in this week, we can read it next week. This week's shout outs go out to Nick, the Moist Mailman, Don Sauce, Dr. Klaus from Sweden, Steve, my wife doesn't understand your podcast, Michael Hunter, UK, in hospital, listening to 40 plus Shatcasts. Get well, Michael, if you're still in there.
That probably put him in the hospital.
Is that what put him in the hospital?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Brian, English Nick, Jay, and hard as board shorts, I miss Stacia. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Again, if you'd like to hear your name on the podcast, just go to shatthemovies.com. There you can also vote on the movies you want to see, check out our past scores, and learn more about us, your Shat hosts.
I love the fact that, like, early on, we would get, like, IP freely and, other fake names like this. But I just love how, like, now people are putting just absurd things in there that make no sense to me, but I guess they'll know it. Like, hard as board shorts, I miss Stacia.
Yeah.
There's something we're missing there. Is that like a corporate sponsor that we're trying? It's like in a board short store in some town called Stacia. There's something going on there.
It's just we just triggered a sleeper cell.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, Big D, we've got yet another commission next week. What is the synopsis of that movie that we're then going to play the trailer at the end?
Yeah, so this one was commissioned by, I don't know if it's the good twin or bad twin, but it was Joshua. And Josh, good job on your pick here. Daniel, played by Ralph Macchio, moves to Southern California with his mother, but quickly finds himself the target of a group of bullies who studies karate at the Cobra Kai dojo. Fortunately, Daniel befriends Mr. Miyagi, played by Pat Morita, an unassuming repairman who just happens to be a martial arts master himself. Miyagi takes Daniel under his wing, training him in a more compassionate form of karate and prepares him to compete against the brutal Cobra Kai. This was again commissioned by Joshua R. It came out in June of 1984, and this is going to be a great one. I mean, it features the song You're the Best, and I can't wait for this review. So stay to the end to hear the trailer, but I'm pretty sure you know what it is.
I want to know which twin is older. Did we get that in the...
We didn't.
Oh, which one came out first?
I'm sure they'll let us know.
Yeah, send in us a picture. Anyway, that concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow on social media and share with a friend. We're on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow the handle at Shat The Movies. Our Facebook is shatthemovies.com/Facebook. Again, that website where you can vote on upcoming films is shatthemovies.com. Our email, if you want to send in your suggestions, is hosts with an S at shatthemovies.com. And you can check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective. You can find all the information on that website, shatontv.com. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert, and Gene Mike Lowrey Lyons, I'm Roger Roeper. Be sure to join us next week for the following movie review. Thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Will be in Daniel's hands, in his body, and most of all, in his mind.
Concentrate, focus, power. Remember, balance. No mercy.
Columbia Pictures presents The Karate Kid.
Hey, what kind of belt do you have?
Canvas. You like? JC Penney, 398.